my log in the trucking industry, you have an 11-hour day of drive time, and you have to do that within 14 hours. So you automatically have a 30-minute break you got to fit in somewhere within 8 hours. That takes away from your time. So you have a total clock of 70 hours within 8 days. If you go 70 hours in 6 days, which I am good at, I have to shut down for a day and a half. And I have to get rest on occasion. So some weeks I don't read. I sit and watch TV and veg out because I got to rest my mind. But then some weekends or sometimes when I'm parked, I'm reading. When I'm driving, I'm listening to videos or talking to people like Floyd, and we're discussing law. I'm watching videos and listening to it while I'm driving on YouTube of people that are credible, like Rob Ryder or um, High Frequency Radio, Yusuf Ale, or law professors. They put their classes on YouTube. So someone that says, well, I have this job and I don't have time, it's not that you don't have time, you're not making the time. And everybody, the bulk of the majority of the people out there, all they care about is how do I not pay my bills? And that's actually, to me, that's being a heathen. Because if that's the only thing you care about, what are you going to do? Sit at home and not work and watch the country burn? You know, I know times are tough. And I know people are frustrated because inflation, trust me, it cost me 25, $30 to eat a meal. It used to cost me $10. And that was the meal and the drink. I mean, a tire for my truck has more than doubled in price. So he dropped off, so we can change the subject now. He's been going back with me. Have you done blah blah blah? And I'm like, why was you blocked? D, are you having problems?
I didn't do it.
Who
I
you,
can't block myself.
who are you talking about?
RM68 was sent me a private message. Have you done any of
Oh,
the? He sent me a screenshot of something that somebody posted about the 1099 and the DOJ is investigating these people, the 1099A. And I'm
hmm
like, yeah, I've told people before, don't do it. And he said, well, then he comes back behind it and says, have you ever done any discharge? I said, personally, no. I said, I'm a truck driver. I'm on the road. I don't have time to go home and get my bills and do what I need to do. I said, but I personally know people that have. I've seen their documents. Well, the information is so important. You shouldn't care. You should share their documents. No, I'm not going to betray their trust.
oh, that's pretty interesting.
I said, if
Yeah,
you
that's crazy.
study the laws, if you study the laws and the rules, they will tell you exactly how to do everything.
Unless you're as old as me and you have a brain fart one day and forget it all and have to restart.
Well, we know if we see you and we start seeing green smoke come out your ears, we know what happened. So I'm thinking the next class is going to be about the law of agency.
I think that would be a good one because people don't understand it that well.
No, I've laid out all the evidence to the best of my ability on how they set it up with the placenta and the birth certificate. They own it. If they own it, how do you relate to it? That means it's not you. That means the only other option is you're the agent. So people are asking me, well, I need to understand this agent. I said, and I tell them where I get the information. So I'm thinking I'm going to get one. I'm going to go get one of the books, and then we're going to walk through the book. Show them exactly how I learned this stuff.
I ordered
Hamilton
my
Bay.
book on Law of Agency already.
You ordered what book?
Law of Agency, the one from, what is it, archive.org?
Oh, you downloaded one of the free ones?
Well, I bought it, so I had the actual book to carry with me when I go back to work Monday.
Oh, okay. That's actually not, see, that's a good idea. I personally like when people buy books. They have it for their library, their resources. But I also know with the current economy, not everybody can. So that's why I say, hey, download the free ones. They're good ones. If you get one of the newer ones, yeah, you can purchase it. I mean, I can go right now, and if somebody paid me $500, I could go get one straight from freaking Thomson Reuters. That's the most up to date on the restatements of the law of agency. So I mean, I just don't talk about that stuff because I don't necessarily want to put people in that position to have to spend that. You know what I'm saying? If they want it, they'll go get it.
Well, there's resources.
Yeah, that's what I
out there.
did. I got a PDF.
Yeah. Do what, Debbie?
There's resources out there for them to get this stuff for free too.
Yeah, there is. The only reason I've got Westlaw, and I pay close to $500 a month to have access to what I've got. The only reason I've got Westlaw is I don't have the luxury of pulling a 65-foot vehicle into a law library on a weekly basis.
I
So
can totally relate to that.
my wife hates that bill because we have spent so much money on that bill. But Thomson Reuters, my rep with Thomson Reuters, he thinks I'm an attorney. He don't ask me no different. I let him presume what he wants. But he's told me himself, he said, you spend more time reading in Westlaw than most large law firms. I said, well, if you want to learn how the system works, that's where you got to go. He laughed. He said, that's true. And they publish everything. They don't hide it. And people don't understand that. They don't hide nothing. That's why I argue the point that it's not
I keep
fraud.
trying to tell them that.
It's not fraud. If you want to argue constructive fraud, oh, I will agree with you 100%. But it's not fraud because they do publish everything.
I think everybody's just looking for a quick fix.
The majority of the people are. And in the class yesterday, what I told people is this. And I tell people this all the time. I said, there's no such thing as one as a quick fix. I said, you've got to learn the basics before you take off running. And the basics, in my opinion, some people may not agree. Hamilton Bay may not agree. But in my opinion, the basics is the law of agency, because everything in this system is about agency. The judge is an agent of the state. The DA is an agent of the state. You're an agent of that trust. If you become a trustee, then you are an agent of that trust. All you're doing is switching to different hats and titles, but they all, when you get them down to their brass, to their simplest form, they're an agent. I mean, look at the Matrix. What did he say? What did the guy tell Neo? He said, you've got the agents, and then you've got those that don't know they're agents. I said, that right there is the most profound statement in a movie you can ever quote, because it's true. They set everything up in this system as you're an agent. You're an agent of something. Learning how to set your life up with that mindset puts the flesh and blood man into the private, and you have your entities facing into the public. That's why I tell people they have the wrong concept on trust. You think if you do a trust that makes all your stuff in private? No, it's a legal fiction, and all legal fictions are your public facing utility to do business for you. A trust can give you protection. Yes, it can, but it's still a legal fiction, and it interacts with every other legal fiction. It's like I just heard there was a lady that come on this group saying, I was the grantor, I'm the trustee, and I'm the beneficiary. I said, is she saying she's the soul? Then somebody needs to tell her to get in here, and she's going to get herself in trouble. And she don't have an EIN. All her stuff does is hold assets. Well, guess what? Currency is an asset. How are you going to hold currency if you don't have an EIN? You got to have an EIN to do business in the public, so to speak. That trust has to do banking. How is it going to make money? People have the wrong concept in a lot of things. Yeah, go ahead, Dee.
I was just going to say I agree with you, and I think it's just because of the fact that they're just jumping on bandwagons instead of doing research.
I know. That's exactly right. I mean,
I believe I've done more research here lately than I ever did the whole time I was in school, high school, and college.
yeah. I upset Jesse the other day. I mean, when he talked about telling somebody to sell their house for $100 to the trust, I said, you can't do that. Why not? I said, you got to have equal exchange. You got to have an actual assessment done, because why? The IRS isn't going to accept the price of $100 on the house. Well, Floyd sold his car for $50. I said, the car's different. You can gift your car, at least in my states, you can put your car as a gift to your child and there's no property tax. But the IRS, when it comes to real estate, there's capital gains. If you gift the house to the trust, your trust is going to get socked with capital gains.
Yeah, you can't do the gift, but you can do an in-kind exchange. Like with my trust,
Yeah.
I've got it set up kind of like the Soul Corp, where there's shareholders with TCUs, and so you can just do an in-kind exchange in that manner.
Well, one of the things when I got to the realization about what money really is, it's promissory notes and securities. I say, look, go get an assessment done on your entire estate, all the furniture, the house, the car, everything. You get a piece of paper that says this is the value. You do a bill of sale to the trust. The trust writes you a promissory note for that value to be paid at some point that you decide in the future, and the promissory note's payment. That's private banking. Now you've given equal exchange. You didn't actually have to give any money out of your pocket. And it's completely legal.
Yeah, no, that's how I handle my trust, but I don't do it with promissory notes. I do it with TCUs.
Well, you can do certain things with TCUs, yeah. Once the trust is established, I mean, but if you get into TCUs, you still got UBIs. There are different types of
Yeah,
paperwork that has to
definitely.
be done.
Yeah, I've got both of them set up, but then I was lucky because I'm just following what my grandmother had set up and her mother before her.
So you come into this with already a little bit of knowledge.
Well, I was there when she initially set up, when she took over as trustee. So I was there on that side of it and went to the bank with her, so I know how that process went. But I was a beneficiary for years. And then when she passed, my aunt was supposed to do her paperwork and everything, and she never did anything. So it went into a state of abeyance. And so I got the paperwork from the CPA that was handling things. It was also a trustee, and that's when I took it back over.
Yeah. Now, Floyd, you piped in there for a second. You was going to say something?
I was just going to correct the record. No, I did not sell my car to my trust for $50.
Yeah.
I did gift it to my trust, however.
Yeah. And see, a car title, you can do that. The laws are different when it comes to car. They don't sweat a car. But when it comes to real estate, oh, yeah, they will sock you with capital gains if you don't do it right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Protecting
And
that
the one
legal
thing you
fraud.
can check in some states, I'm sorry, Floyd, go ahead.
Oh, I said they have to protect that legal fraud. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. Yeah.
In some states, especially in the southern states, if you have a manufactured home, they're classified as a vehicle, so you can do the gifting in that manner as well.
That's actually now that you say that, that's actually sounds pretty good. I didn't think of that, but you're right. Everything that gets an MCO
Yeah,
is,
that's
I'm
how I
pretty
did
sure.
mine.
Yeah, it's
I
classified
did
as a
my
vehicle.
land is my land is real estate, so I had to do the in-kind exchange, and then for the manufactured home that's on the land and the vehicles, I could do the gift.
And what's scaring the system is there's actually a percentage of people in this movement like us that are figuring out the rules, that are actually doing the work and taking the time to learn. And that scares the crap out of them. That's why they're changing the rules.
And locking down all the offices too. I mean, the Bureau of Land Management, we had one in our county. It's closed up. They say they've closed them now in almost every state except for they're moving it to Virginia for all of them. Same with the
Yeah.
health departments. They're closing them down and making it just one place.
Hey, Spider, you asked what I meant. Let me show you this. I gifted this to my dad. He got one of the exempt plates, and then we started printing the exempt plates. And I had my wife make this one for my dad with our family crest, and he very quickly took the other one off and put that one on. So what he did was he walked into the DMV and just looked at the lady behind the counter and said, I see no more benefit in this contract, so I'm returning this to you. And she looked at it and said, okay, sir, thank you, and have a good day. That's all he did. He didn't do any paperwork, and he's been running with that plate. That's the new one, but between the old one and that one, he's been running with that plate for over 5 years. I think he's getting close to 6 years, and he's never been bothered. Now, am I going to say you won't? No, that's going to be location based.
Right. What state are you in?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay, I'm up in Michigan.
But if you are bothered, you just got to know how to handle your affairs.
Right. I mean, as long as you know what to say to them, they usually back off. Anytime you know the law and you can give it to them, they tend to get kind of intimidated, I guess would be the best word.
Well, I tell people if you get arrested for driving without a license or a license plate or any of that stuff, look at the judge and ask it one question. Your Honor, does the license plate or the driver's license or the registration, whatever the subject matter is at that time, says, Your Honor, does that represent a contract between the defendant and the Department of Motor Vehicles? If you get down to its simplest form, it does. Then if he's going to have to say yes, it does represent a contract.
Yeah.
He might duck and dodge.
Oh,
He might try to dodge the question, but if you back him into a corner, he's going to have to say yes. And then your next question is, well, Your Honor, can this court order me to contract with anyone? If he tries to say yes, well, Your Honor, under the Northwest Ordinance, or otherwise called the Ordinance of 1787, slavery and involuntary servitude is illegal, so I will conditionally accept your offer on the contract at $100 an hour. Now, who do I consult with to send my bill? What's he going to say then?
Yeah, they're going to back out of that real quick.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. If you just know the basics, you just know the principles, you can shut them down fast.
I've got a 35-page motion that's you just fill in your information and the jurisdiction of the court and drop it off the next day after you get a ticket for no driver's license, and it'll make all them charges go away. No license, no insurance, no registration.
Yeah, but if it's 35 pages, it's too big. They're never going to read it.
Well, I've had friends that it's worked for.
Well, I understand it might work.
Yeah.
I just don't think you have to write that much. It's kind of like
Well,
David Strait. He
you
says,
probably don't.
like David Strait, he puts out that 42-page affidavit of repudiation like it's supposed to be magical or something. I mean, it's just too
Yeah.
big.
Right.
If you can't fit what you're going to say on a motion that is 1 or 2 pages, you probably got too much and you've give away all your ammunition.
Yeah, I haven't actually sat down and read this motion. I need to, but I got it printed off. And I've just been going through so much different stuff. I've been staying busy, just grabbing research.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm trying to put everything into play and get out of this research spin. You can get lost in that, sure.
You'll never get out of research because
I know, right?
you get to where you've gotten the law of agency down pat. Then you're going to start learning the law of trust. You get that down pat. Then you're going to go to law of contracts. Get that down pat. Then you're going to go to something else, and it's just going to lead to more and more stuff.
It seems like it's definitely a lifelong learning experience here, especially because we've all been taught the wrong thing, so you've got to learn to look at everything from a different angle.
It is a lifestyle.
For sure.
I mean, look, people. I relate it to the Bible because one, I'm a Christian. Look, someone becomes a Christian. What do? They start reading the Bible all the time. They want to know what it says. They want to know how to act, how to live, et cetera, et cetera. It's no different studying law.
Right.
The principles, though, once you learn the principles, it makes it a lot easier because the principles never change. They were there before America was even founded. They've been there forever.
Right.
And then after you learn the principles, you can start developing your own methods or processes.
Yeah. Sure. I'll have to send you that motion I've got. You can give it a glance over and see what you think. I'm curious on your opinion, since there's a lot of us pushing information around, but you seem like you've got your shit in order pretty well as far as you know a lot more than the general people out here,
Yeah, that's what people tell me.
Yeah, just from our talk on the phone the other day.
I don't really care to toot my own horn. I really don't. But yeah, that's what everybody says. They says when you explain things, it makes sense.
Yep.
Now, do I get it right all the time? No, I'll be the first to admit it. I probably make mistakes.
Oh, of course, all of us do. It's a learning process.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can send you this while we're in the live, or
I actually heard something last night, Floyd. I'm waiting to see if I can get the documents. This guy that I was talking to, they have the opinion the states were never set up as sovereign countries, even though they're there on paper. And something along the lines, this guy filed with the Pentagon and the UN and these other places on Pennsylvania becoming a state, a sovereign country. And I said, well, I don't agree with that sentiment. And I explained why. I said, but If you can get a copy of those documents, I'd like to see them. I'd like to see what he said. Because personally, I think it's possible to use those documents with slight modifications for ourselves.
That's possible.
Because why? We're supposed to be self-governed.
Right.
So what do? You put up your own government. What laws are you bound to? You can't be lawless. And those laws have to be based on those fundamental principles. But it makes a lot of sense what the Bible says in the
I was
last
actually
days.
watching a video on that last night.
Oh, what video on what?
On how they, in the historical records, on how they took the land from the tenant and the owner possession, and how you can reclaim it back and then incorporate to make your own corporation and then your own government. They had documents and processes. I watched the video, but I haven't done the research on it to find out more about it, because it had mentioned about the Pennsylvania issue in that video.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the way I look at it is, if you look at what the Bible says, it says in the last days that the people would be lawless. I don't necessarily think per se that there wouldn't be any laws. It would be that the people think they are not bound to any laws. Look at the American State National people or the State National people on the Anna or the David crew. Oh, those don't apply to me, blah, 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 blah. So you're saying you're above the law? I mean, for real? So I do see that there is a growing group of people that technically are considering themselves lawless, in their own words. Nice plates, Jesse.
Hey, so I just had a person hit me up that's in your group, Floyd. That's obviously a scammer. I've been getting pretty good at figuring these people out. I asked a question of what the temperature was, where they're at, and they give me a temperature in degrees Celsius. I don't know if you care or not, but I'll.
Well, what are they
person's
telling you that makes you think they're a scam?
Well, they just anytime I've been getting to where I can locate these people on Facebook, they come back with a temperature of degrees Celsius when I ask them what the temperature was in Grand Rapids. Said it was 22 degrees outside right now. And usually that ends up being people from Nigeria. I've actually had one guy that just sent me a picture of himself from down there after I explained to him what gave him away. This person's name is Harris. And he's got a New York, must be a New York Yankees symbol in his profile picture. I don't care if you know, or I don't know if you care or not, but it's sent me a picture of some girl that I've seen on Facebook before and exposed as a scammer. So they haven't actually tried scamming me, but they're obviously not
Yeah,
who they say they are.
I got the same messages. Just block them. It's
Yeah.
a scammer.
I like those that
Yeah.
jump in there and post the crypto stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. Makes me wonder how anybody believes that anymore. Got to get some real idiots to. Oh yeah, let me send you $1,000. You know.
Let me show you how I made $1,000 overnight.
Yeah.
Anybody who comes in the chat trying to sell something, I always boot them and remove their messages.
Right.
I posted those 3 links for the Pennsylvania and United Nations that I haven't gone through and researched yet, but we're mentioning it.
Nice.
I just sent you
Another fellow
those files
group.
that I had.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, have to check them out and see what you think. One's for driving without a license, and one's for driving without a license due to back child support. Got them from a guy on TikTok.
Against the law to drive without a license.
That's right. That's why I have one, because I'm a truck driver.
And that's
Yeah,
why
if you're
I rescinded mine,
definitely.
because I'm not.
Yeah. My daughter's learned she's not getting a driver's license because she's not a driver.
Right.
Now, me, I'm of the opinion you just got to put your paperwork in order. You got to make sure you notice the parties properly. Tell them how much your fees will be if you're injured or harmed.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure your paperwork's in order so they know who you are. See, people are so afraid to fill out documents and do business with the government because for some reason they've got it stuck in their head they shouldn't have to. I said, no,
Right.
this is supposed to be your servants. They don't know who you are until you declare who you are.
Yep. I'm going through a
Yeah, it's
passport
about
status change.
notification.
Do what, D?
I said it's about honorable notification. You notify them, and that way they're aware of it.
What are you doing, Marshmallow?
It
Sitting
also
up in
gives
my
you
lap.
grounds to come back and to file a claim on them if they violate your rights. If you haven't
Yeah.
given them any notice and you have no standing, they're just going to run you through the administrative process and presume that you're an enemy combatant or an assumed combatant. So yes, you definitely need to give notice.
Well,
I've
part of
sent out
the
80 notices. So
Well, part of the reason we're under the Trading with the Enemy Act is we are a detriment to the United States because we're out here creating all this debt and we're not doing the paperwork right so they can balance the books.
Right.
Yeah, I finally finished reading all of that because it was such small print. I had to get it enlarged. I didn't understand the part with the banking part because if the banks are considered enemies, because under the definitions, banks were also included in that. So
Yep.
that would make us either our own private bankers then or only on the private banking side. Is that correct?
Yep. Go read Proclamation 2039. Go read the congressional record of March 9th, 1933. This is what Eon says. He says, you're a bank. He said they issue the currency in exchange for what? Government obligations.
Yep.
Right? So the
Definitely.
government obligations mean what? If you're holding your office properly as agent, you're creating the public debt, but you notify them of this entity that's receiving the credit and the treasury balances the books. Well, that's interesting. Y'all saw that picture I posted about the state nationals getting where they're in prison, right? I just got another text. My friend that got a job as a prison guard. She says, another fun thing I learned today. They're putting the National Guards in prison all around Florida. I don't know why, but soon we'll find out. Seems a bit extreme to me, but what do I know? I Googled it. It says to help understaffed prisons. And I've heard rumors that the DOJ and the FBI is going to start going after all those state nationals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that too.
Don't know how true it is. I know
How
right
could
now
they
we're in
go
a
after a
danger.
state? How could they go after a state national, being that you're supposedly out of the jurisdiction?
Anybody that is expatriated or stated they're a state national or anything of that sort, the UN came out with a document. I'll have to pull it and I'll post it on how to claim them and bring them back into a country status.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is getting a passport as a state national really wouldn't do you much good, huh?
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people like Anna von Rietz's crew and David Straight's crew.
Right. Yeah.
That's the type of people I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah. I've heard a lot about neither of the processes working for either one of them. And if I'm right, I've heard if you get pulled over and hand them the passport, that they'll arrest you for fraud for the passport.
Well, my studies right now are in international law because that seems to be the way everything's going.
Yeah.
International law has always been there.
Yeah, but they're bringing in to tighten it down because of the agreement that was made back in May, and it's supposed to be official November 1st. So there's going to be a lot more restrictions.
Well, the reason why I say it's always been there is admiralty jurisdiction. I did a video on this a while back. I'll have to go get it and put it on Rumble. I saw somebody post a video on YouTube, not on YouTube, on TikTok, where they was playing this guy, this well-dressed guy, explaining the maritime law and the gold fringe flag, and it's all maritime law. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Y'all bumped your head. And they brought law of the sea onto the land. No, they didn't. Admiralty, you have 3 jurisdictions in the Constitution, and think of them as pyramids. You got admiralty jurisdiction, equity, and common law. Okay. Admiralty jurisdiction is the top of this one pyramid, and on the right-hand side, you got maritime law. On the left-hand side, if you do enough reading, you'll find another little phrase called admiralty law. What I found out in Westlaw was that admiralty jurisdiction, maritime law, is a subset of the law of nations under the law of commerce. And I said, oh, guess who has the exclusive right to regulate commerce? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. So it goes to presume admiralty law is the other side of the commerce thing. You've got those that are on the sea, which is maritime law, but you've got those between nations over the land, aka states. You've got commerce.
Yeah.
Pastor, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If someone has been overpaid disability and the Social Security office is telling them that they have to pay it back, and you have to go to court to face a judge, what's my avenue on that?
Well, for one, who am I talking to?
I'm on my wife's. This is RM68.
Okay. I would actually write a letter to the Social Security Administration, or if you do go to court, tell them you're subpoenaing someone to come to court to answer questions. Because if there was an overpayment, you need to know who the party was that did the overpayment, and you need to ask the question, am I the beneficiary of this account? Because if you're the beneficiary of the account, that changes things. Well, why is there an overpayment if I'm the beneficiary? The beneficiary holds no liability if the trustees are doing their job.
Yeah, I need to figure out how I'm going to face that. You know, like from the time that I walk into the courtroom and say what I have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, Spider. On that part, I'm on disability myself.
It's not Spider.
No, Spider.
Oh, it's not Spider. It's
yeah.
M68. Okay, I'm
It's
on
Carol.
disability myself.
Yeah.
So if you go look up fiduciary representative or representative payee, it'll specifically in those codes, it'll show you that you're the beneficiary. And then there's your standing.
Okay. Text that information to me on Telegram?
Yeah, I can, because I've had to use that in my case several times. Now they know when I ask for something, I get it.
You're under Carol Moorfield, right?
Yeah, that's my wife.
Yeah. That way, D, you can find who it is.
Sorry about that. I couldn't get my phone to work.
You're fine. I understand.
You got any questions for him? All right, who was it that gave me that information a minute ago?
That was D Bradbury.
Oh, D. Okay. All right. I'll be looking for that D.
Okay, you're the Carol Moorfield, right?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
send it to hers or to RM68.
Okay, I just sent a text just to verify to make sure.
Okay, hold on, just
Yeah, that's one. That's why I always tell people read their rules. They'll tell you everything. So
One
how
thing you
long
can
before
do with
your
disability too,
how long before
let
your
me
court
just
date?
give this information.
I haven't gotten it yet today. Sorry about that. Feedback. I just got off the phone with the Social Security office today, and they're sending me the documents in the mail.
So there is no court date yet. They're sending you documents. What are the documents for?
For proof of, they're saying that I owe the money, and
Well, then you can just type up a notice to let them know as the beneficiary they need to contact the trustee.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened was I was on disability for a little over a year and a half, and I got off of disability, went back to work, called them, and told them I was at work, and they still kept paying me.
It don't matter. You're the beneficiary.
Yeah, none of that matters. Once you verify that message that I'm talking to you, I'll give you some information. You as the beneficiary can ask them. They'll tell you it's not even considered income for living expenses. You can ask them that, hey, I need a new car, and they'll have to give you the funds or get you a car or a house, whatever. I mean, you're the beneficiary on this.
That's why
Okay.
you got to learn law of. That's why I tell people you got to learn law of agency and you got to learn trust law. That's the two biggest things you got to learn up front, because the biggest trust. When I did this, what's called the secure party creditor process, I studied it for 3 years, and one of the things it teaches is you're doing a trust. Okay, and you learn trust law. But the one trust we all missed was the Social Security trust. It's a statutory trust. So I was like, holy crap, it's a trust. It's the biggest trust of all. The question is who holds which office? Who's the grantor? Who's the trustees? Who's the beneficiary? And who's the potential agent? And my opinion is you're operating as the agent until you can establish either by their consent or by writing from, or them giving you something in writing that you are the beneficiary. Because if you call them on the phone and you say, now an acquaintance of mine the other day did this. He called, his name's Tim. He called the Social Security office, and he's the main office in DC. Am I the beneficiary of this account? And gave him the account number. Oh, yes, you are. Well, can you give me that in writing? Oh, no, we can't. Well, you'll have to go to your local office. So he goes to his local office and he asks them the same question. Am I the beneficiary of this account? Oh, yes, you are. Can you give me that in writing? Oh, no, we can't. Why do you need that? For my records. You need to speak to a manager. And he never did get that in writing, because if you get it in writing, now you've got evidence for a court of law. And now that comes into that changes how you operate, because why? A beneficiary has certain rights, duties, and privileges. And if you have evidence or they consent to you being the beneficiary, the trustee has to do things for your well-being. So that money is not an overpayment if you are a beneficiary.
What duties?
Well, one of the rights they have is they have the right to make requests. They also have a duty to notify the principal of anything that might affect the principal's interest. In other words, if a creditor comes after the beneficiary, Hey, but you're going after the wrong person. You need to go to the trustees. They also have the right to look at the books to see if the trustees are doing their job. The only thing the beneficiaries can't do, they cannot have any decision-making power at all. They can make requests, but they can't make any decisions over the trust. The minute the beneficiary is making decisions for the trust will collapse. Now, I need to work on these emails too. Now, don't everybody get quiet. I know people got
How can I
questions.
help? How can I help? Do you have like voice activated email writer or something?
No, I got to go get these emails together because I got to send out the link for the class.
Is that going to be
It's
the
all,
class on agency?
no, that's the one I've got to announce. That's the one I just did yesterday. Let's see here. Yeah, I told them they would have it by tonight. Huh?
I was asking Dee if she got my message. She got it.
Yeah, sorry, I was typing. But I have done both of those that I sent you. I have done the additional funds per month request, and I've also done the automobile request. They have to provide as long as there's a need.
There's that word request as a beneficiary, Dee?
Yeah, as a beneficiary, you don't have the right to make the decision, but they have the responsibility to provide.
Yeah. The trustees have to do everything in the for the benefit of the beneficiary.
It doesn't matter the amount either, right?
No.
No, it doesn't matter the amount, it matters the need. The need is the key. Like when I got my last vehicle, because of my car accident and everything, I needed another vehicle and I didn't have the funds for it. So I sent in the request and my car, they paid for the car.
Trusted?
Yeah, they had to because it's a government obligation.
My thing is just getting the right documentation. That's my only thing.
It's not really any formal documentation. I mean, you're the beneficiary. The legalities of it is their responsibility.
Yeah.
Social Security disability, if you're already on that, that's the easiest thing to get your needs taken care of. I mean, if you're making, because that money doesn't even count for income. If you actually talk with them on the phone, they won't send you any paperwork to verify it in writing, but they will tell you on the phone that that money is not income. It's not for your daily living expenses. If you needed extra expenses, you could actually work, and you have up to a certain dollar amount they allow you to get, which is like $700 additional a month if you wanted to work. But you don't even have to do that. You just tell them this is the need that I have, and they provide it.
Yeah, it's funny. I asked that lady if there was a written or a documentation with my wet ink signature on it saying that I owe that money, and she said no.
Wet ink signature doesn't matter. That's a misconception. Everybody has the mentality in this. There's a lot of majority of the people in this movement think that if there's no wet ink signature, there's no contract. Well, that's not true. A signature does not matter. It's your actions that matter. Okay? If you go into McDonald's or any other restaurant, you went in with the intent to do business. Was there a contract? Yes, there were. The contract was up on the wall called the menu. They fixed your meal. If they got it wrong, what happens? You give it back to them, right? They fix it. They don't charge you for that meal they messed up on. They only charge you for the one they fixed, okay? And if you don't pay, then you are in dishonor. You didn't honor the contract. That's why it's called theft, okay? You didn't need a signature for that contract. So you have a contract in your possession. It's called a Social Security card and a birth certificate. That's their property. The problem is you're not administering the estate properly, and you don't realize that there's this contract there. It's called an implied contract.
It's like what I've said for a long time. You've got to know which hat you're wearing and how to speak to people in that under that hat. I mean, you're with Social Security and with the birth certificate, you're coming in on the Social Security part with as the beneficiary. That's an easy one, but I've dealt with that for years.
But even with something like that, if I rang up and said, I need a full accounting, I request the details and accounting and of all the transactions. They're like, no, we can't really give you that. Then what?
Then
Or
if
like,
you go
that'll
to
be,
court, then you go to when he has to go to court to handle it, you bring it to the attention of the judge.
Well, not
As the
only that,
beneficiary,
if you haven't got a lawsuit like with his paperwork, you can actually file suit as the beneficiary for them not doing their due obligations that they're supposed to take care of your needs.
that's
You don't
right.
play games with. If you're on disability, you don't play games with them. I don't give them that room. They are supposed to provide for whatever I need as long as it's a reasonable accommodation.
And you don't even have to be on disability. Go back to the bankruptcy of revised Article 9. I mean, not bankrupt. Go back to the congressional record of March 9th, 1933. Okay. This is when everything changed and they had a progression of acts. They had the Banking Relief Act, then the Security and Exchange Act, then the Social Security Act, then the Trust Indenture Act of 1939. They did all these acts that are intertwined laws. Okay. They placed the country in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. What happens under Chapter 11? Oh, reorganization. Well, they've been passing reorganizations every year or 2, 3, ever since. Okay. They did that and made us the beneficiaries, but they don't want to do their duty because you don't realize they have to. But when they exchanged the new money for government obligations, it was an obligations because they couldn't take our property without consideration. That consideration was the necessary and propers clause of the Constitution. They have to take care of your necessaries. Why do you think the Obama phones, they considered that a necessary? Everybody freaking out because Biden is talking about dismissing the student loans. Well, darn it, you didn't know the money to begin with.
Thank you for saying it that way, Pastor, because that just made me reevaluate some of the things I'm doing. Like with you ain't got to do on the forms, at least with my Social Security, I can just start making sure they pay my damn electric bill.
What have I been saying?
I've already gone through energy assistance to have my home evaluated, and there's no reason I should be having $400+ a month for electricity in my small home. So that'll be my next agenda item.
That's what I've been saying. Look, the coupon is what? The coupon is an obligation of the United States. What is on the bottom of the statement? A coupon. Where are you supposed to be sending it? To the trustees.
You're right.
It's an
I just needed to be
obligation
reminded.
of the United States. See, my problem
Also,
is I'm on the road and my wife hasn't quite got brave enough to do some of this stuff for me. She's expecting the shoe to drop sometime, and she tells me this. She says, I just expect the shoe to drop one day and you go to jail doing this stuff. I finally
Knowing
talked
you
her
had
into doing
assistance.
knowing, well, she has seen me do things. She's seen me do the GSA bonds in the family court case, and she'll tell you, yeah, everything got really weird. It didn't make no sense. And she was like, she has seen me do things in different cases that she can't figure out because why she don't get into this stuff. She just hears me talk about it all the time.
I'm not a sideline type of person. I gotta act on when I figure things out right.
Well, most of us in this movement, if we are in a relationship, it's usually one of us that is in this studying it, and the other one really don't care, and they're just in it. They're just waiting to see what happens. Shane, my buddy Shane, his wife's that way.
Second that one.
Yeah, Spider, your spouse,
My
Felicia,
wife,
her
too.
husband, Yo Mama, her husband's that way. I
Quick
said,
count me in
that's
as well,
the
my wife.
norm. Yeah, it's the norm. We are two halves. We are going to be opposite. That's why we complete each other. That's why they are like they are and you are like you are. You complete each other. But it's
And that's
funny.
probably
It
why I
really
mostly
is.
stay single. Because I want someone that's on the same page.
I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one in that predicament.
Yeah, me
Hey,
either.
To the spouse not wanting to, not listening or caring
I
about
don't
it.
know. My dad always told me in a relationship you can't be pulling in opposite directions. You're supposed to be pulling that cart in the same direction.
well, that does require you to work together. One of the most interesting relationships I heard about was on the Focus on the Family. They had absolutely nothing in common. Okay, but what did they do? They took interest in the other person's activities because they loved each other. I mean, he did things she didn't like. She did things he didn't like. And they told their story, and it's like they've been married like 50 years and just absolutely love each other. And that's the thing. We have forgotten how to be each other's helpmate, basically. The Bible says the wife is to be his helpmate. It doesn't say you have to like what he's doing. Just support him and help him. And in turn, if you love your wife, you will support her and help her.
I agree with that.
But now, if you do any of these processes, I tell people don't do them because I said you could do it. Do that because you've researched the law, because it's your butt on the line and you need to know how to articulate it in a court of law. You don't have to be perfect. I'll tell you a story. An acquaintance of mine a long time ago, she had a family court case. And in that family court case, she was, they had her kids. Okay. And I told her, I said, look at Trenzi versus Pagliaro. And I said, and I sent her the case. And then I sent her a couple documents that explain the principles behind it. Now, what Trenzi versus Pagliaro is no attorney, anything they file or say is hearsay. It only becomes fact of the case if you don't object, because they don't have firsthand knowledge. So she learns this and she goes into court, and every single time the state's attorney went to speak, before that attorney could even finish their what's it called? Finish their thought process. She was object.
Deposition.
No, it was no, not deposition. So before that attorney could even stop speaking, it was I object, and she was not articulate about it either. She was, if she's got some, if that attorney's got something to testify to, tell him to take the box. That's how she said it. That don't sound legalistic or
That's
illegal
funny.
or right. And they couldn't move. 2 weeks later, she had her kids back.
It wasn't politically correct.
That's right. It didn't sound like an attorney. It didn't sound fancy. She learned the principle.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to sound fancy as long as you know what you're talking about. You have the general idea of it.
Yep, that's right.
Just get to the damn point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Less is more.
Do what?
Less is more. Say less sometimes it gets the message across, just like that guy just says, straight to the point. You say all these words and end up getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Spell Tagliera, roughly.
Trensey, Trensey versus Pagliaro. But I'll do one better for you. Give me a second. Then you don't have to worry about it. Let's see. Trensey V. There it is. Okay, search. There we go. Boom. Right here.
Hey, Pastor, my wife and I are going. We've got to deal with some things here at the house, and I got to get ready for work tonight.
No problem,
So,
sir.
I appreciate all your help, sir.
I just shared the case in the group.
All right, I appreciate it. And tell, I don't know if Dee's still on here, but tell her I said thanks.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
God bless y'all. Y'all have a good night.
You too, sir.
Right.
Now, let's see. Copy. Few more emails. Paste. Okay, next.
Hi all. Just a quick question. I'm from Australia. Is the same process work here?
Where are you at?
Melbourne, Victoria, in Australia.
It works here.
It definitely will work, but you got to research your codes and your laws to find
In
the
Australia
perspective.
or state?
No, in Australia. See, everywhere they set up a central bank, they set up the system the same. So they might have the laws slightly different, but in their principles and overall scheme, they're going to be the same.
It's universal.
Yeah, it's universal.
Appreciate it.
I mean, I mean, if
Appreciate
you
it.
look on YouTube, you've got Justinian Deception out of Australia. You got
Yeah.
Crow 777 in Australia, I think. They're
Right.
talking about the same stuff. Now,
Okay.
some of their
All
thought
right.
processes I don't agree with anymore, but I
Yep.
understand where they got it from because I used to think that way. So the
Yeah.
system is still the same. The birth certificate is there. You've got your version of the Social Security number, et cetera, et cetera.
I've
And
I've done
it,
my Live Life claim through David Windmiller's process.
mhm.
I've got my Live Life claim. Can I start using that to contract with these people, with debtors and or is it fill out the UCC 1 and 3, do it that way instead? I'm not too sure.
I don't subscribe to David Windmiller's process. I think they took it too far. I think,
Right.
yeah, proper grammar, proper syntax.
Yeah.
That's how the English class used to be taught decades ago. Where they took it
Yeah.
too far is when they started putting dashes in everything, and they took words that never had a prefix or a suffix and made it
Yeah.
into a prefix or a suffix. And one of the examples I give, because somebody actually did throw it in my face one day, is the word united. That means no. And I said, hold up.
Yeah.
That's not a prefix. Ited is not a standalone word.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where they took it too far.
Yeah. It's
But
yeah. I mean, the process since I've been listening to you, it just seems it's not as complicated as what I've been studying with Dave Windmiller. Yeah.
no, it's
Yep.
not.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll keep studying and appreciate your time.
I mean, Brad Tipton did get onto a video. He's kind of a salesman. He was saying anything with the Queen's name on it now has to all be redone. So he's even because of COVID, everything has to be redone. So therefore, more sales for him, I guess. But
Yeah.
that is true to a certain extent, probably. If you sent things to the Queen or whatever.
I did, yeah. Well, I basically done the process of sending the letter back to myself and you know, claiming it through that way. But yeah, now that she's dead, I did think about that the other day, whether I had to redo that again. So yeah, good point. Right. Thank you. Okay, thanks for your time, people. Cheers.
You're welcome.
So I'm currently going through actually a paid passport and status change class right now. Cost me a couple $100. It's like a 2-month course. They're teaching a lot of stuff that I already know, but it's supposed to pretty much lay out all the paperwork that we need to get in. So my aspect of this to get into quickly is the diplomatic immunity. You know, I've been studying a lot as far as all the other stuff goes, but I want to try and put that into process as quick as I can. What's your thoughts on the stuff that we need to file, or I should say have recorded, before we file for the passport?
I don't know that you need to do any certain thing before you do it.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to get your paperwork together to establish who you are.
Yeah.
If you read the form, it says 85 minutes per response. That right in itself tells you a lot, that it's about what you answer on that form, not anything else. How long? Why should it take you 85 minutes to say your name? This is per response.
Yeah.
Also, didn't we have diplomatic immunity between the time we were born and the time they put our feet on that soul plate, or they started doing the funny business?
No, there's
Still
no
have
such
that
thing
because
as,
that's not you.
yeah, there's no such thing as true diplomatic immunity. Okay.
Well, limited. Yeah.
It's limited. You're
Right.
under Chisholm v. Georgia and Hell versus Hinkle and other cases. The people are the state of sovereign. Okay. So we're supposed to be sovereigns without subjects. That's the reason why when you violate another man's rights is when there was a crime, not all this commercial stuff. And we have forgotten that aspect of it and how to do those things. Okay. So it's, I mean, people can do different paths to get that done. I mean, I know someone that did a name change, and the secretary, when she got her file together, she put that order. She set up a family trust as a religious trust. She put her new name as a member of that religious trust. She put the court order with her DS-11, sent it to the Secretary of State. They called her. When have you ever heard of them calling you? You don't hear that very often, but they called her and they tested her. They said, you know, and then she finally told them, said, look, I have no contracts with the United States under this name. No, you don't. You sure don't. You're a sovereign. You'll have your passport book and card in the morning. And true to their word, she had it in the morning. But I know other people that didn't do a name change. They just knew how to express who they were under the law and their lineage and all of that stuff, and they got theirs. It's
I
all
talked
about
to a guy.
knowing who you are.
I talked to a guy the other day that just did. He took I don't. It was either a live birth record or a certificate of live birth with him when he took his DS-11 into the passport office and showed that to the person there that he had to file through, and he got a 5-star diplomatic immunity passport. He showed me all the proof for it.
Yeah, that's those asterisks on there. I have not seen anything that tells me that what people are saying is true. I can't find any documentation anywhere that those asterisks mean anything.
Yeah, I haven't found nothing specific to the 5 stars either.
I think
people
people
talking about it.
Yeah, that's it. People are just thinking it means blah, blah, blah. We're guilty of making presumptions without evidence, just like the court does.
Maybe it's the opposite of like a 3-star general, a 3-star enemy.
Well, I think the only reason we're the enemy of the state is because we're a detriment to the nation because of the debt. We're not handling our affairs properly. See, the way a guy told me the other day when I made the discovery about being the registered agent, I told him, I said, I don't have no problem being a registered agent. I can do that forever. He said, but yeah, he said, you can, but it was never meant for you to be that from the time you're 18. That was just a stepping stone for you to learn how to handle your commercial affairs. So the agency is the beginning. Then you get into the other stuff, contracts, trusts, business, et cetera, and you start learning how to settle your debts and handle your commercial affairs. And eventually, when you reach that certain level, you're up there with all the other people that's reached that level, and you're not talking to people no more. But
that's when you become the absolute trustee, right?
Yeah, that's when they give you the payout. But to me, you're signing non-disclosures, and to me, that payout just means you're kind of making a deal with the devil. That's the way I look at it.
Hey, I've got a question for you, Pastor.
Yeah.
My dad is currently going through. He's on dialysis, right? So he's got stuff going through Medicare, and Medicare's paying for the most of it. And I've been looking into stuff about discharging debt for him. You know, I've looked into the coupon method, obviously the 1099A process. What would you recommend? He's got about $4,000 a month that they want him to pay out of pocket. Now, you know, we don't have a bunch of money, obviously.
Well, what I recommend?
Can you recommend anything for him?
It's the simplest thing. Whose name is the debt in?
Well, it's in the straw man's on my dad, obviously.
Bingo. Who's the principal?
What was that?
I said bingo. Who's the principal?
Right. Yeah.
Who's the agent?
So do you think a 1099-A would pay that off without getting them cut out
No,
of?
no.
Okay.
Never go to the 1099-A. There's other 1099s. There's a 1099 miscellaneous. There's a 1099 NEC. There's a W-4.
Right.
The father, the principal in that situation?
No, the father is not.
Well, my question on that, why can't you just send it to the Medicare trustee to pay?
That's right.
Just like I do with the Social Security.
That's what I'm saying. You send the 1099 in. Let me break it down. When everything went bankrupt, March 9th, 1933, they tried to pass a law on the Act of June 5th, 1933, to put the national debt on the backs of the people, and the Supreme Court said, no, can't do that, not without their consent. How did they get your consent? They created a straw man. They let you believe that's you. You're the agent. The agent holds no liability if the agent does their job. What's the agent's job? To serve all notices, all demands, and all all processes to the principal. That's it. That is the only job the registered agent has. Nothing else. If it is their property, if it's their obligation under the Congressional Record, March 9th, 1933, under Title 18 U.S.C. 8, where should it be going?
To the IRS, right? Or to the Treasury?
To Treasury.
Yeah.
It's the Treasury. I've just posted the trustees for Medicare in there. You should be able to send them. And see, I don't even use those IRS forms because we're supposed to be doing our own forms for our own affairs. So I just type up the forms that I need and I send it to the Treasury for Social Security. So it would be the same process for Medicare.
So what do you think I would have to file exactly or help him file to get that $4,000 a month paid?
You don't file anything.
No.
No,
You're not filing.
You get your cover letter based on the codes.
All right.
What does the code say about the registered agent? What does the code say about him being the beneficiary? Since he's probably retired, use the beneficiary angle, right? That's what she's saying. Then you use the beneficiary angle. As the beneficiary, I am sending this to the principal, and under this code, it states I am the beneficiary. So I am doing this, my good faith effort, to help do my part to settle the debt of the United States. So the principals are blah, blah, blah. So you mail it to the principals.
So basically, I need to write up a letter for him.
Put in there so he can look at it.
Yeah, would you please?
It's already in there. Well, look at this one here, D. Here's the Board of Trustees. That's the Board of Trustees for Social Security.
Yeah, that's the ones I send my stuff for Social Security, but Medicare has their own.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you posted that, so I'm going to have to look at that.
Yeah. I was saying, why couldn't it be done the same? I've not had to pay anything out of pocket for Medicare, or that's what I would be looking into.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why it could be any different. He's reached the age to have those benefits. They will say he's the beneficiary. So guess what? If he's the beneficiary, the trustees are the principal. You just got to be able to articulate it in good faith. They cannot hold you liable to anything you have a good faith belief you're doing right and according to the law. As long as you're not violating another man's rights, which is an actual crime, they can't hold you liable. They can correct you and say you're wrong on something, but as long as you have a good faith belief you're doing it right, then they can't hold you liable.
So basically,
you just don't know
to
who
write a
you
cover
are.
letter to the company basically sending the bill back to them, explaining all the laws that.
No.
Oh, you're not
Not
asking the
back to
company.
the
You're going to do it
company.
to the trustee.
Okay, so it needs to go to the Treasury then, right?
She just shared the document that
I,
shows you
Yeah,
who the
I say.
Medicare trustees are.
yeah,
I just shared the link
I
to
just posted that.
I
Okay,
just
so it
shared the
needs,
link who the trustees are at the Social Security Administration. You send
needs to
it
go
to
to
the
them.
trustees.
Gotcha.
Pick one. Pick the
Okay.
head trustee. Mail it to them. It's their job to notify the other trustees.
All right.
Now you can be honorable and send the company back and say, I have notified the trustee that they have the responsibility to take care of this on this account, but that would not be sending the information to them. You're sending it to the trustee to take care of.
Yes.
All right.
And the more I think about this, and I'm going through it for how I did with Social Security, I'm a dumbass for not doing my damn electric and stuff for them for that, because they've got my Social Security on file, so that's already the Social Security account for the trustees. So
I wish Yo Mama was on here, but she's not on here. There's a video. Let me go find it. It's a 10-year-old video. Let me see. Remittance coupon. Let's see. Remittance coupon IRS.
well, I've been doing the signatory acceptance and having it done that way, but that's just a longer process when I can just forward it all to who's supposed to be doing it instead of me doing the paperwork, and it'll come straight out of the account.
Check this out. This video here, okay, that's a 10-year-old video. He called the IRS on asking about a remittance
Oh yeah,
coupon.
that one I've seen before, Pastor. That's a good one.
Now, let me tell you what happened recently. My friend that's in our group, she called one of her companies that she gets bill from. She watched that video and she said, well, she's been hearing me say, hey, ask questions. They will tell you, right? She calls the company up and says, do you take remittance coupons? Well, yes, we do. Well, what information do I need to put on it? And they laid out what information she needs to put on it. Okay. And how she needs to do it. And then she says, do I send a copy to the Treasury also? Oh, yes, you can do that too. That way they are aware that this remittance coupon is coming. So she did it. And they said, check back with your account between the 12th and the 14th to see if it's been settled. She did what they told her to do, what the company told her to do on the coupon that is on the bottom of the statement of the bill.
So basically, I could have my old man call the hospital and ask them for the remittance department, and hopefully, if everything works out right, they would explain to him what he needs to send to.
Me personally, you don't have to go through all that. I was just telling you that one. If you know enough about trust law and the role of the trustee for the benefit of the beneficiary, because he is in a beneficiary status as a Medicare, okay, then what rights does he have? The trustee is supposed to take care of everything. Who's the trustee?
Right.
All you got to do is articulate it in a very simple way that as the beneficiary, I am notifying the trustee that the trustee has this that needs to be took care of. And so can you please take care of this for me? By John, beneficiary.
Yeah. So basically, I just write a letter to the trustees saying, or have him write it, obviously, to the trustees saying that this needs to be taken care of as a beneficiary. It's your duty, and sign it by
Yeah,
like my
that's it
name,
right there, Jesse. By name and title. Yes.
just Spider. But yeah,
No, Jesse posted in the group.
oh,
By name, title. I
let me
said,
look at it.
yes, that's right.
Okay. So would we put like my name, for example, is Edward Rockwell. So I'd put my first name, my middle name, first name dash middle name colon last name, and then comma beneficiary as I send it to him.
I wouldn't use your full name. I wouldn't. And the only reason I
No.
wouldn't is I agree with what somebody else told me. He said I never use anything other than my first name. Your first name is your private name.
Really? Okay.
That's what he says. He had a court case. He walks into court. Now he has his trust, his living estate trust. Then he has an LLC. The LLC is the trustee for the trust. Then he has his DBA doing business as the LLC. Then there's a DBA of the LLC doing business as the trustee for the trust. He goes to court. I'm here to handle the matter for that estate, Your Honor. Well, what's your name? John. The judge says, John. Yep, nothing more, nothing less. That's the name my mother gave me.
Yeah, I've seen him try to trick him into giving it last.
And hold on.
All right.
And he hands his business documents to the bailiff, who hands it to the judge.
Right.
All his business documents, his DBAs, all his proof. The judge turned and looked at the DA and said, don't you ever bring somebody in here again without a last name. and the DA said, well, how do I get his last name? The judge said, I don't know. That's between you and him.
Yeah, I watched the video. It was pretty close to that the other day. It was a pretty good one.
When you write your letter, you put the all caps name as the beneficiary in the letter, because the Cesta K Trust is the beneficiary.
Right.
And if you go under the Trust Indenture Act of 1939, the obligor is the Cesta K Trust, has to produce the trustees. Guess who never comes to court?
Yeah.
The trustees. Because why? Nobody ever expresses the title.
Right.
Well, then how do they get us in court acting as the trustee then in the courtroom?
They're not. They're getting you under trustee de Santort.
Oh, okay.
In other words, you're using another's property and you're not using it correctly. And you're using it illegally. That's under trustee de Santort.
I also saw the word executor de Santort or something like that the other day.
You saw what? Repeat that again.
Executor de Santort, or there's different versions of anything de Santort.
No, the trustee de Santort is similar to de Santort, but it is. Let's do it this way. Trustee.
It's like an imposter, kind of, right?
No, it's not. There it is. Trustee de Santort. Okay. Someone who, without legal authority, administers a living person's property to the detriment of the property owner. Then it says C, constructive trustee. Well, what happens in these court cases? They're creating a constructive trust. because they are presuming that you are using their property illegally because you're not doing it in your proper title. Okay?
So is that why we have to go in and create a revocable trust to set it all right?
I don't necessarily say you have to do a revocable trust. That's just one type of trust. I mean, there's only, at its base root nature, there is two types. Okay? You have a trust and you have a charitable trust. Now, under those, you have different types, which means different rules, but only in minor ways. You have a revocable, you have an irrevocable, you have a living estate, you have a spendthrift. You have different subtitles, but at its base roots, you have two types of trusts. People sit here, well, should I start a foundation? Well, what is a foundation? It's a trust. It's a charitable trust. And the reason you do a charitable trust is a charitable trust never dies. Corporations never die because why? They have the license. A trust does die because why? You can only set a trust up for 99 years. Now, can it be continued?
An irrevocable charitable trust is non-taxable as well.
Well, is it? Show the tax code. If you're going to make the claim, show the tax code.
Well, you're right. I suppose I've got a book, what's the name of it? How to Be Invisible. It's in my group. He goes into a lot of that. He's a person that...
If he makes the claim, he needs to show the code.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it and see if I can pull the information.
There's a lot of people putting information out there that you can create one of these trusts and you get a 9/8 number and you'll never have to pay taxes. Really? That's not always true. It can happen, but it's not always true. Because if you do something that mandates a tax, there's going to be a tax.
Let me see if I can find the book and I'll send it to you. You can check it out. There's a section that's on irrevocable trust. This guy is about staying private. And he's wrote 3 or 4 manuals. Pretty good book. I'll grab it and send it to you real quick.
Okay.
Hey, Pastor, so was your mama able to do that acceptance for value on the remittance coupon?
I don't even worry about the A for V anymore. If you can't find anything in the laws that actually, I just think that's a term people have brought up, like secured party creditor. There is a secured party and there is a creditor. They just merged them together. Okay. Same thing with accepted for value. You can find accepted and you can find value, but you cannot find accepted for value. But the remittance coupon is a legal term. Okay.
Gotcha. So she was able to successfully do that.
I don't know. I got to ask her. They told her to check back between 12th and the 14th. It is just now the 14th.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I've been watching her TikTok videos and I follow her. We talked to her there.
Yeah, you know Yo Mama.
Yeah, I know her.
Yeah. She's spunky. I give her credit. But let's see. Let's see. Let me ask. I don't know if she's in here. Let's see. Reply.
Pastor, do you think the remittance coupon would work for child support?
Yeah, that book I got, How to Be Invisible. third edition is not on my phone, so it's at a different location. I'll have to send it to you at a different time. Can anybody hear me? I can't hear the live broadcast anymore. I don't know if anybody's not talking or.
No, I hear you fine.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Hey, Craig, are you still on here? If so, I sent you a DM.